Hi there, guys. I'm Steffi Steph. This is Bobby, and we are Between Two Teeth.
We have a special guest.
What are we here for today?
We have a special guest.
We have a special guest, James Quick. Everybody, he is here, and he is way bigger than we are, so we're really excited to have him on our show.
We are excited. James, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. I am a full-time content creator as of the summer, so I've been doing YouTube and other forms of content for years on the side of having a full-time job, and in July of 22 decided to do that full-time, so here I am.
Wow.
Man,
we're kind of part-time on a whole lot of things, I think. We do part-time this, part-time this.
I got a question. Did you lose any sleep that night you made the decision, just full-time content creation?
It was actually relatively easy. So the real story is I got let go from the position that I was in. They were kind of going in a different direction, which was fine. And I had been thinking about doing this for a couple of years, and I never knew if I was ready and financially wanted to be, in a good spot. So I had done enough sponsored content in the past, had enough lined up where I got laid off on a Thursday. I took Friday off. Saturday I decided I was going to go full time, and Monday I got up and I was a full-time content creator. So it was a pretty natural thing because it was all things I've been doing for several years anyway.
Isn't that an awesome way? I constantly like to say the universe will give you what you need.
I'm
and
impressed.
Just things happen and you make the best out of a situation, and you were just prepared through your experiences. That's awesome. Has it been difficult dealing with the work-life balance as you've sort of become so busy as a content creator? Before you answer that, he has a lot of subscribers. We've got
Are you interrupting
our
guest before he even talks?
We've got 5 or 6 subscribers.
This is why we have no big-time guests on our show.
Your mom,
this is exactly why, right here.
Your mom
you do this every time.
Twice.
I know my mother. Thank you, Mom.
And I've subscribed multiple times under multiple different names. But he's a big deal. He's doing this full time. Creating content, I think, is tough. But so how do you balance things? What's the secret?
Well, first of all, anytime you want to jump in and celebrate my success, I'm all for it. So feel free to continue to do that. So actually, work-life balance is actually one of the most important things to me in the entire world. I've made really good money in tech. I make really good money now, to be quite honest. But the thing I'll never sacrifice on to do that is work-life balance. So it was much tougher in the past because I would work a 40-hour-a-week job as a professional and then go and create content either early in the morning or late at night or on weekends. And it was stuff that I really enjoyed. So I still feel like I had a good balance with that because it was like any other hobby that we may have. Now I don't have to do it in extra time. I work my 8 to 5 or whatever. And I honestly take a lot of breaks during the day. My wife works from home, so we go to Costco or whatever we need to take care of during the day. And I think I have great work-life balance. I think it's one of the things where everything I do, I love. So I could find myself on a weekend, just really excited to do something. And I don't think that's a problem because of all the balance that I have during the week. But that is one of the things I will never sacrifice on is work-life balance for me, especially we are expecting our first child in May. So having both of us the ability to work from home and flexibility to take care of anything we need to family-wise is pretty incredible.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
That is awesome. How do you do with work-life balance?
Well, we've had work-life balance has come up on a couple of our shows, and one of the things that I'm always interested in is some people say that it can't exist. Some people think that if we're achieving or if we're striving towards a goal, by the very definition of us just kind of really putting our nose to the grindstone, work-life balance, a true balance of all aspects in our life, whether it's getting sleep, nutrition, family life, friends life, what we're doing for our career, job, hobbies. Some people will make the counterpoint that can't exist. You have to open up your time and space and energy to really jump off and to do something. You have to fully commit yourself to that. Or just like what you were saying, when you were getting started with content creation, it was early mornings, late evenings, and to your own admission, it probably wasn't that balanced, but you were carving out a space. And now you can actually do that full time, which does afford more balance. But at the start, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I would actually push back even a little bit more and clarify me doing stuff outside of 40 hours a week. So if you look at numbers, and I was working a total of 60 hours a week, work-life balance means different things to different people. So yes, that's working total more than 40 hours a week, but it's doing something that I love. And people ask me, how do you create a new video every week? How do you do all this content? How do you do all these things? And it's because I put myself in positions to do things I enjoy. And if we look at any hobby, I don't know if I want to distract us, but my wife and I love soccer and sports.
Oh boy.
We play sports
Here
together.
Here we go. You got the soccer. I was going to bring us full circle here.
That's perfect.
But it's any other hobby is not taking away from work-life balance. It's just something that you enjoy. So I don't think me working outside of the 40 hours a week took away from any other thing that I could do. Honestly, it just meant I spent less time watching Netflix, which is probably not a bad thing anyway.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. One thing that whenever this whole topic came up, as a millennial, we are a little bit more sensitive to mental health issues and this whole concept of balance. I don't want to call out Generation X or the boomers are maybe people more like my dad, my mom's generation even would be like, find a way to make money. You don't have to make a lot of money, just make a living, put your nose to the grindstone, get it done, be silent while doing it. Having fun is not part of that. But I absolutely agree. If you're having fun with what you're doing, in high school, I felt like I didn't work a traditional job, but I feel like I had three full-time jobs. I was in school, I played club soccer, and I ran a lot. And to some people, that might have seemed like a terrible use of 24 hours. But to me, I was enjoying it. I got to spend time around my friends who were either playing soccer, running, or studying. And that was me. And so to me, I was absolutely balanced, but maybe from an outside observer, I was way unbalanced.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. What advice would you have, James, for someone who is trying to do something similar to what you're doing? That is maybe, okay, I think I've got the content. I want to do this either part-time to get started, or I'm just ready to go. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing is just to get started. The easiest piece of advice I can give, the hardest piece of advice to follow, because most people overthink it. Most people are, if they want to do YouTube, they worry about, I don't have a camera, I don't have lighting, I don't have a microphone. If you go back and watch any content creators' early stuff, they didn't have any of those things either. I now have
our early stuff's terrible.
Yeah.
Our current stuff slightly.
I think we'll look back a little bit and say terrible. This early stuff was also a little rough.
Back now. Yeah. But it's always good to hear people like you who are successful. Or several of the other podcasters that we follow, like Rich Roll, and they're like, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I was terrible at the start. So many of us, we're both dentists. We tend to be perfectionists, and oh boy, it's hard to start something if you don't think it's going to be perfect. Part of our why with Between Two Teeth was to get a message out there. Frankly, it really wasn't ever about the teeth. It was about connecting, discovering, and inspiring, but do it in kind of a basic way that we could have fun with.
Right. We wanted to make people laugh. And also the way
have we done that?
I don't know if we've done it so much.
We laugh a lot at ourselves, but I don't know if we're.
That's got to count for something.
It does. Yes.
The way my mind works, James. What's on your shirt right there? Is that compressed? If I can't figure it out, it's going to be real tough for me the rest of the time. It is compressed.
Compressed FM. This is actually my with a co-host Amy Dutton, our podcast.
Oh, shout out.
That's
hey,
right,
we're going to cross promote. Compressed, guys.
Compressed.
Check it out. So another thing we wanted to
hit on. That was an uncomfortable pause.
We wanted to hit on a couple of things. Work-life balance was one thing. The other thing is giving back to the community. One thing that we're actually, we met on a mission trip and are in Guatemala actually. And so what's a way that you love giving back to your community, James?
I don't know if you were there long enough to pick up much of the language, but I speak a pretty good amount of Spanish. So maybe we can do that in a different time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think the epitome of my why as a content creator that I never knew would be a thing. I never would have characterized myself as this. I never would have thought of this years ago is I love teaching. I never in a million years, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I was an adult, would I have ever said a teacher. But teaching comes in lots of different formats and shapes and forms and all the things that you can think of. In content, mostly, you can see a lot of entertainment, but a lot of it is teaching people about something. I watch tons of TikToks about cooking and DIY and woodworking and stuff relevant to me in tech. those are ways to learn, and those are people creating value in the community. So my like why for creating content comes from a place of loving to teach, loving to empower other people, share the things that I've learned. And that's why I do podcasts, I do video, I speak at conferences, and specifically on the speaking part, a big focus of mine going forward is just inspirational, career, motivational type stuff to give people this idea of like a career can really be as amazing as we think it should be. Like going back to millennials earlier, millennials really annoy people because we think we should make more money, we should work less, we should blah, blah, blah. And that annoys people because they're not used to that. But the reality is like, why should we not do that? Yeah. We should all be super happy in our career. We should make a lot of money. We should have work-life balance. We should have all these things. And so that's one of my favorite topics to get out and talk about, is to have people look at career opportunities and their progression through their career in a different lens.
And that's what I think is the blessing of that generation. You know, my generation, older than me, you work with one company, you stay with that company forever. That's what you do. And you have other people that show up and say, hey, but I want to be able to do other things outside of work life. And that has to have a greater level of importance. What do you think holds people back from things like that? When you are talking to people and you're trying to motivate them to say, go for it, make it happen.
Biggest thing is not knowing that they have control over all of those things. That's the big theme of mine, is taking control of your career. And it's not exactly this simple, but like from an advice perspective, it is. If you want to make more money, go make more money. If you want a higher title, go get a job with a higher title. And like the empathetic part of me admits, like, that doesn't happen overnight. You can't just go and find those things and make it change overnight. But what you can do is start to work towards those things and have that as a goal and do things along the way strategically to help you get to whatever that next step or that final point is for you. But once you get to the point where you're at a job and you just kind of accept, like, this is where I'm going to be the rest of my life, and it is what it is, and it's
Right.
okay, and I make okay money, like, that's a dead end for anybody. So changing your mindset to look at, like, what can I actually do to control this situation, I think, is a game changer.
I'm going to jump in
No,
here.
no,
I'm not going to fight for it. I'm going to jump in. So I love what you're saying on that. And one of the things that I've watched with my parents, and I mean, your parents are your first.
Your mom's a subscriber. Go easy with whatever you're going to say. Your
first sphere of influence is that. So my dad is someone who has, he's passed up promotions. He doesn't want that. He doesn't. Now I'm different, but he wants to.
You are different. Yes.
I always joke with my patients. I say, my dad's someone who likes two things a lot in this life. It's his wood stack. As long as his wood stack is perfect, like every piece of wood is perfect in the driveway, and then there's a car that he can work on, his life is complete. If he never gets that promotion, he's cool. If he never feels like he's still going, my dad lives for kind of just that job that just keeps going and keeps going.
He had it figured out.
But what is always puzzling to me, James, is I think a lot like you. I think that go out and get that title. I kept telling my parents when they turned 50, go back to school, do something different, achieve, just figure out, mix it up, do something, be happier.
Yes.
And what I missed, I think, though, is that some people are not wired like, I would say the three of us all kind of probably jump into what James is talking about. But I am so curious as to how some people find ultimate happiness, and I don't think they would be happier if they were constantly achieving. And that, my dad looks at me like I'm a little unbalanced. So I love your point, but I can't help but wonder how everyone's a little bit different, and how some people live for that one level. My brother's an example of that as well.
Let people live the way they want to live.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, and I say that my what is it? We call it my mission. My why is to.
What's your why?
Yeah,
We've been working. We rehearsed this.
I
What's the
mess
why?
this up
Come
constantly.
On, what's the why?
But my why is to push myself and others to fully live, laugh, and love. And I make a mistake sometimes. I push people who don't want to be pushed.
Oh.
And you can push too much, but that's, I look at it as my obligation to push them to say, okay, something different is possible. And it's up for them to decide if that's the direction they want to go. What I wanted to say, since you guys brought up soccer, this Canadian me would say Wayne Gretzky said.
That's a hockey player for those who are from Texas and don't know anything about
if you
hockey.
don't know who Wayne Gretzky is, stop the video now.
We know football, man.
No, stop. We want someone, you got to know who Wayne Gretzky is, greatest hockey player of all time. But he said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And gets back to what James was saying. If you don't take the risk, you don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of people don't want to do that.
And I guess my comment's one of more a philosophical question.
Philosophical.
Does everybody? Because I need people like you. I need people up there saying, "Hey, it's possible. Let's do this. You can have the life you want." Right. Especially when you grow up in an area or an environment that everyone's okay with the status quo and they're actually happy doing it.
And it's hard to figure. We're so tied. Our self-worth is so tied into various things. It's the number of clicks, the number of likes, the number of subscribers. James has. We're not going to brag again, but you've got a lot of subscribers on your YouTube channel because you figured out what works. We're still trying to figure out what works, and part of that, I think, is to enjoy our own journey. To put a message out there. We've had very impactful people reach out and say that, hey, we like what you're talking about.
One of the things, James, I've got a question for you, and you don't have to answer it. What was? Yeah, he's already smiling.
Question.
Well, I'm asking because this is an interesting thing for me.
Say, no,
I'm always interested to people who are just kind of go-getters and just the sky's the limit kind of mentality. What happened in your life to really trigger you to start thinking this way? I don't know if people wake up maybe just born with this mentality. What happened?
Yeah, well, I want to kind of go back a little bit really quickly to the idea of what my intent is behind the inspirational, motivational career type stuff is basically the cliche pursuit of happiness. Now, happiness means different things to different people. Happiness might be working 10 hours a week and making $500 a month and having just enough to get what you need and to be able to go and fish all day or like whatever that is. So it's not necessarily me telling people they should go be a CEO. It's like whatever actually makes you happy. Money is one of those things pretty commonly for people. We enjoy money. But whatever that thing is that makes people happy, go and make that part of what you do. So I have found a way now to one, get paid very well, but also do the thing that I love most in the world. And I was doing on the side anyway. So whatever happiness means, like go and figure out a way to work towards that. It may not be a corporate job. It may not be a ladder. It may not be any of that, but it could be. And then for me, like the talk that I gave the name is That Conference, which is very hard to communicate. But at that conference in January, I started out by talking. I know.
That's awesome.
It's hard. It's hard to communicate that, but I started by talking about how it was basically kind of a story about my dad. And in 2015, he called me and told me he had 6 months to live and died shortly after I moved back to Memphis. And like, yes, there's like the sad part of that. But what that got me to do is start to think back on like the things that he did/didn't do in his career. And he spent the majority of the time that I knew him feeling stuck, making no money. He graduated with a law degree, decided he didn't like it after he practiced for 6 months or a year or something. And in theory, that's noble. Like if he made the decision to go and do something he loved more instead of doing something that he didn't enjoy and made more money. The problem is he got neither of those things. So he left like money on the table as a lawyer and then didn't find happiness in a career.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of grown up with being surrounded by people that had jobs, not careers. And I never heard of people going and finding the thing that they needed to get to the next step, whatever it may be, more money, promotion, working less hours, whatever that thing is. I never really saw that mentality. And I think I was just really fortunate to, one, go through and be surrounded by super, super talented and inspiring people through middle school, high school, college, etc. And then I joined Microsoft coming out of college, and I was working with startups and I was working with students that, like, if these students applied for my job when I applied, I never would have gotten the job because they were so much more aware of what was going on and so much more motivated. But specifically working with startups and looking at people that just see a problem and they go and come up with a solution and just like build that from nothing. So I think I've just been really fortunate to see that ability to take control of what you're doing, the ability to go and build your own thing, the ability and the impact that content creation and networking and all these things have on your career, to the point where now I get to be one of those people that shares that with others.
Oh wow, I love that. And sorry, I'm just gonna go again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love your.
I gotta find the mute button.
I love when you talk about just kind of that moment and just kind of your environment being kind of the spark there.
And being around people that really help you out.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And one thing that as a 30-something-year-old, 33-year-old, I always am interested in is
32.
Oh, did you? Okay, shout out, man. Shout out.
I'm going to mute both of your microphones.
I'm always interested in, or at least recently, very recently, I'm interested in is, when people ask you like, what do you want or what do you like or how do you figure out what exactly it is that is going to make you happy? I mean, what's the rule book on
Why
that?
Why do you guys keep talking happiness versus peace?
Because we're in our 30s, man, and 30-year-olds want happiness. They don't want
I'm
the
a
80-year-old piece.
I'm like,
that
okay,
zen.
Happiness. Sometimes happiness is overrated. A lot of times, most of the time, financial stuff is overrated. You get to a point, and maybe it's because you get on the second half of things, you go, I want peace.
Do you want peace?
But I digress.
World peace.
What was the question?
World peace.
I forgot.
Very good Miss America answer there.
Yes, it was world peace. Well, my question is, for happiness, how do you find out what makes you happy? You said your dad left money on the table with law and spent, a good portion of his life figuring out, hey, what's going to make him happy? How do you find happiness? Is it, putting yourself out there, figuring it out? How do you do this? How do you do it, James?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't pay attention to what makes them happy. So I think part of it is taking a step back and trying to be intentional about reflecting on, especially at your job. Are you excited to go to work on Monday morning? Are you excited? Are you much more excited to leave at the end of the day? Are you counting down the minutes until you leave?
She leaves Monday morning at 10:30 a.m.
Oh man.
And I think people just accept that and don't spend time reflecting. But it's also things outside of your job, because a lot of people don't consider the potential to take whatever it is that you enjoy, whatever hobby you have, and turn that into a job/career. So for me, I didn't know I enjoyed this until I was kind of thrust into it, but I enjoyed creating content. That doesn't, in some ways it does, but it doesn't directly make me a better developer. It doesn't necessarily make me better in the tech industry, but it's something that now I've found there are jobs that combine technical skills with the ability to give talks and network and create content. And now I've been able to turn that into something that I do full time. And it's harder for different things, but if you enjoy music, find something to do in music. If you enjoy sports, find something to do in sports. And it doesn't have to always line up exactly, but I think there are more opportunities to match up the things that people enjoy if they first take a step back and kind of pay attention to on a daily basis or weekly and monthly. What are the things that actually make you happy that you do get excited about? And you can tell, you can tell when you're excited about something versus not. And then use that as a way to go and try to marry that up with okay, what are jobs that maybe are similar or related or adjacent to the things that I do now that tie in more to the things that I actually enjoy.
Oh my God,
that makes sense. I'd like to get paid to talk continuously.
I think that's what you do right now.
That's what I do. I just make no money at doing it. Well, we appreciate the input. You've given us an awful lot to think about. I think it's a different perspective for our viewers. We got connected through a very important person that had seen you and has
shout out
with
Kate.
Us. Yep, we'll just say first name only. And anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to do this. Your YouTube channel is what again?
Podcast is compressed.
Yeah, so podcast is compressed.fm to set expectations. It's web development related. There also is a secret talent of mine. The intro is a rap that I wrote. It's really short, but a little hook to get people.
Do you want to please rap for us?
I do not want to do that. I will send you the audio after.
Bob's going to do the beatbox, man. Yeah.
You're a really good singer. We tried to do that one time, and then
I scared everybody off.
That's right.
Everybody.
YouTube shut us down for months, I think, or just something happened.
Oh, man.
But once again, we appreciate you being with us, spending your time, giving some great advice to people, and take this advice. I'm going to push our listeners to get out there. Find your passion. Find what's going to bring me happiness. What's going to bring me peace. What's going to be my next step. It won't be perfect. You'll probably be somewhat terrified at making the jump, But James Q. Quick has shown us what is possible when you follow what the universe is sending your way. So we appreciate it very much, James.
Yeah, thanks for having me.